Hello, everybody. Welcome in once again to the Friday edition of the Casual Sports Podcast. As always, I'm Alek Koberna. That's Matt Morrison in the exact same outfit I'm wearing, and then Mike Wolfgang repping Penn State in the middle there. Guys, final week of class is over and done with. We got finals next week, but how's everybody doing?
Doing pretty good. I don't have any finals next week, so I'm officially on Christmas break. That party starts today, everybody. The party starts today.
Oh, dear.
Thanks for rubbing it in, Matt.
Don't tell Matt it's party
Yeah,
time.
rub it in.
And Mike, you got a busy week coming up, don't you?
Very busy. Well, I got a couple things
man.
left, but I mean, I only have one test next week, but I still have to go there a few times, but it sucks.
Yeah,
I'm
well.
gonna go there to party. No.
There, Matt's in party mode. Nobody invite him over.
Yeah, I mean, my type of parties, they involve the juice boxes and, maybe even some Capri Suns.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, those are the best parties.
Sure.
Right there. Alek, where'd you go? He's gone.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, I had to deal with something behind the scenes. All good.
Oh, jeez. Well, all right.
Yeah, whatever, Matt.
Well, how about we get away from Matt's juice boxes and get into some high school basketball? So last night, guys, once again, Liberty girls, dude, they went off 69 points, 1 point shy of 70. They would have had 4 straight games with 70 points. They come up just short of that. But, man, this team is something else. It is a dominating force of nature, and they went on a run late in the first quarter. I mean, first 2 minutes of the game, actually, Crestview looked like they were going to stick in this one all the way through it. They actually were leading a couple times in the early stages, and then Liberty found a rhythm. And they found the rhythm, and they never let off the gas. I mean, it was 20-9 at the end of the first quarter, and you were like, all right, feels like they're starting to pull away. Crestview, though, they can go on a run and get right back in it. No time to panic. And only 10 points Liberty scored in that second quarter, and it was still about a 10-point ball game because if Liberty can't score on offense, their defense is just so phenomenal. I mean, half their points are getting made in transition because they can steal the ball from you every single time you try and go underneath, whether it's outside. I mean, they're picking the point guard as soon as they come across half court. It's ridiculous how talented this girls basketball squad is for Liberty. And then they come out third quarter, and here they go. They were off to the races, and you had Aaliyah Foster, I think, finished with 26 points in this game, and then Demi Watson, I think, had 25 right behind her. These two were on fire really the entire game. And then one of their best players, Ciana Smith, was having a completely off night. Her passes weren't going where they wanted. She's a leading point guard, and she had a huge game earlier this year. She already has 20-plus points in a game, I think 2 or 3 times on the season. She was having an off night. She scored just 5 points, and this team still put up nearly 70. This is an all-around unit. A lot of times in high school, if you have one great player that makes or breaks your night, and I kind of saw that with Boardman a little bit last year. If Trey DePietro or Ethan Anderson weren't on, they tended to not play that well. That's not the same case you see with this Liberty squad. If one person struggles, there's somebody else to pick up the slack. And Liberty fans, if any of you are watching this, tell all your friends to go and check out this girls team. This is phenomenal, and they could use a mega atmosphere there at Pete Pro Cup Court.
And Alek, what do you always ask for in any level of basketball, but especially in high school basketball? You need to scrap around, you need to fire around, and you need to do it consistently throughout the game and throughout the season. That's what they work hard at both ends, right? I mean,
yeah,
going after steals, going after, playing good on defense when your offense isn't working. So that's what stands out for teams, and that's what makes high school basketball teams go far in the tournament, because you have to be able to do it on every single aspect of the court, and that's what Liberty does.
Yeah, and Liberty has the big thing as well with they have extreme levels of stamina. I think a lot of the girls are also involved with track or cross country, and that starting 5, for the most part, I mean, a few are getting taken out for a couple minutes. For the most part, though, these starters, the starting 5 is playing nearly the entirety of this ball game. They're barely being taken out, and they don't even look like they're sweating down there on the floor. Crestview was rotating in and out, I think about 12 to 13 different girls throughout this game just to try and keep pace because it's nonstop transition, attacking basketball. I mean, you cross half court and instantly, boom, you're going the other way because Liberty is stealing the ball right out of your hand. I mean, they're just robbing people blind at this point, and you just got to hide your child, hide your kids, hide your husband, hide your wife, because Liberty is coming
to destroy
them. Hide everything you have because one team is going to steal it out of your pockets and they're going to put it in the basket on the other end. This is just one of the most talented basketball squads I think I've ever seen play outside of the National Basketball Association.
High praise.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah,
Wow.
this is one of those units that I'm not kidding. This team hasn't been to a state championship in basketball since Pete Prokop was the head coach of the boys squad in 1961-62 season. So it has been a long time for Liberty, and this is one of those generational groups in this girls basketball squad. And I'm feeling honored to be able to call this team already in the season.
Sweet. But
Matt, what about you last night?
I had the Badger Braves versus the Palmatooning Valley Lakers. The Lakers pulled this one out 58-45. Badger had they had some spurts. I mean, Katie Grexa, unbelievable play. And she was completely exhausted at the end of this game. She was everywhere on this court, stealing the ball, shooting the ball, passing the ball. Just sometimes those shots didn't fall, or she had these amazing passes. Like, I was more excited about these passes she was getting off, and then the shots just weren't going down. They made a great 8-0 run at the end of the third quarter, but I think that's what really it pulled them in within like 8-9 points. I think that's what really kind of killed them now. That really exhausted them. And then PV just kind of pulled out some big shots and pulled away at the end. But I had the opportunity to call this game with Patrick Carney. I talked about this yesterday. Patrick Carney, the athletic director, and my former teacher and golf coach. And so it was cool to have him on. He described a lot of the things that were going on, the zone defense, the press defense, all that. Great color guy. He is a coach. So, it was good to have him on last night. Good shout out to him. But Badger 2-2, Palmatooning Valley, 4-1 now. I was calling this the Route 7 rivalry because they're literally both on Route 7. You just go down and you're going to hit both schools. But
Matt, I think everything in this area is on Route 7. Cardinal Mooney is on 7. Youngstown State and Ursuline are on 7. Boardman's on 7. Your school's on 7. Obviously, Palmatooning is on 7. Everything comes down Route 7 in Youngstown.
He's talking about in that part of the route, right, Matt?
What?
Like, you're talking about down that part. Yeah.
That part. Yeah.
And heck, Brookfield's not too far off of it either.
No.
It's like one turn off of 7 and you can go right down to the high school.
Yeah. You get on 82 and then there's the high school. So, yeah. But Badger, they play next Tuesday. I'll be there. Or next Monday, I'll be there. They play Fairport Harding. That should be a good game. Or Fairport Harbor. I think that's what it is. Something.
Yeah, Matt, I can see your squad next week, though. Monday, I got Lady Liberty hosting the Brookfield Warriors, so that should be an exciting one early. Probably one of the biggest comeback matchups of the early season. I'm very interested to see how these two teams match up against one another because, as I've said, I think this Liberty squad is the best in the state of Ohio. So I'm very interested to see how they compare against a very good Brookfield team. You've had a lot of praise for them as well, and you've really been talking them up over the last year and a half.
Oh, yeah, and we're going to see him again this Saturday.
Yep.
Because we're calling them at the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. That's going to be a great opportunity for us.
And why don't we go ahead and preview that one real quick since we won't get to it tomorrow. Tomorrow, you guys can catch Matt and I calling from Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in downtown Cleveland. First up at 2:30, Brookfield versus Crestview girls basketball. Then immediately following that at 4, Newton Falls at Windham boys basketball.
Windham
at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse should be epic. And then I got another game going on tonight. Austintown Fitch coming into Cardinal Mooney. Take on the boys squad there. Very exciting matchup early on. Cardinal Mooney, the boys, I think they're out to a winning record now, but they've really struggled to find that rhythm early on. I was at their last win earlier this week, and they have a lot of talent, but I'm interested to see if they can put it together. That's tonight at 7 as well.
All right.
Lots of basketball coming up for Matt and I, that's for sure. Well, we'll save the basketball for another day. Let's get into Thursday night football. Matt, your squad sucked for 2 quarters of basketball. Football. Jeez, I'm still stuck in the wrong sport. And then second half, they explode for 28 points. Still wasn't enough. You outscored the Vikings 28-13 in the second half, and you still lost by 8 points. Tell me what.
Can I say something before you go,
Mike?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll be quick.
Go ahead.
I want to apologize to Ben Roethlisberger for me. The last 2 weeks, he has not been the issue on this team. I'm sorry. They come in with bad, offensive line, number one. But Matt, it's their mindset and the way they come into these games. You had a big win last week
too.
where not many people picked you to win at home against Baltimore. I picked them, but that was a big game for them to win to keep their season alive. And you come into this game and you get absolutely destroyed in the first half. Like, you needed this game to stay. Now they're going down to 10% chance to make the playoffs. They were 19 before the game started. They could have went up. And now they're virtually out of the playoff race. And you come in and wet the bed like that in the first half. It's too late to do it. This is typical Steelers. They wait till the second half, and it's always too late.
It's not against the Chargers.
This game was not on Ben. Ben played great in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he did. I mean, 3 touchdowns, 300-plus yards. I mean, he was fantastic. So, mean, it wasn't on him. And even Najee Harris was 6 yards away from a 100-yard night. So, he was, great in the second half. As, Matt was yelling in there, that offensive line really just wet the bed in the first half. And then by the time this team came together, they were down 23-0 at halftime. I mean, I turned this game off at halftime because it was a snooze fest. I went threw on some television and got to bed earlier than I would have if I had watched the end of this one. I regret kind of not seeing the comeback and a near pull off there from Big Ben. But, as you were saying, this is really going to push them out of a chance of the playoffs, especially if come this weekend the Browns end up beating the Ravens. I think that really is going to hurt the Steelers' chances as well. So, I mean, it's coming down these last few games, and it's must-win time, and the Browns have a 22% chance to win. So, as you continue to look at how this season continues to play out, it's very more and more likely that it's not going to be the Steelers making one final hurrah at that title for Big Ben.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about that Claypool incident. That clock is ticking. He made the catch and he celebrated. Like, get up and get the ball back to the ref. You got to get going. They could have had a chance to get closer, into the end zone, but it didn't end up happening. He took a good 5 seconds off the clock. That I know sometimes that doesn't seem like a big deal, but it was in this situation. And why? Why would you celebrate? You're losing. You were down 23-0 in that first half, and you're celebrating. Get up, and he just might take that little award at the end of the show. I've been thinking about it all day. He just might take it, but why? And Mike Tomlin, he was ticked about it.
He was not happy.
Watch that interview.
He shouldn't be.
What's that?
He wasn't happy, and he shouldn't be happy with.
No, he shouldn't be happy.
A lot of things on his team, especially that.
And you showboat? Dear God. Good thing I shut this off.
Give me a minute here to respond to that.
Go ahead.
So earlier in the game, I don't think they were losing bad yet. They might have been down a touchdown or something like that. He catches a pass, and of course he has to do his first down thing. He points right in the guy's face. And then he gets pushed by that guy, retaliation, and he gets mad thinking he didn't do anything wrong. Well, get your hand out of the guy's face, number one. And then second, he goes over to the sideline. Mike Tomlin, I'm sure you guys saw it. He was talking to him, say, hey, don't do this stuff. Then you have a chance to come back and potentially score a touchdown and get 2 points to tie the game instead of overtime, and you do it again. Like, to me, that's the biggest problem with this team is their poor mindset. And it goes back to last year. They care more about showboating about stuff like that, posting stuff. And that this is
on TikTok. And crap.
Again, I know eras change. You have different players and people are different and every team's different. But this is not what the Steelers do. And it's not – their mindset sucks. And they couldn't stop anybody on defense last night. On both offense and defense, they got owned at the line of scrimmage the whole game. And that's why they lost. They did not want to win. They didn't even want to be in this game last night.
No, Harrison Smith he went off. Harrison Smith on the Vikings, this guy, 1 sack, 4 tackles. It was insane. Harrison Smith came flying in and just destroyed Ben on his blind side. And that's the offensive line's problem. You got to protect that quarterback's blind side. That's exactly how Joe Theismann got hurt by Lawrence Taylor. They made a whole movie about it. I'm sure you guys have seen it.
Oh yeah.
With Sandra Bullock in it.
Run the damn ball.
Run
we
it.
Love to yell that
Run
one
it.
We love yelling that one on this show.
Oh yeah.
But Alek, what do you got on
that's
this?
all I got about this game. They're 6-6-1. They look like a 6-6-1 team. They deserve all they're getting here. And it's football. Move on.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. You just have to take your licks one game at a time because the NFL it can switch up just like that any other week. So take your licks and see what you can find your way down at the end of the season. It does pretty much look like they're going to be out of the running here I mean, it would take a strong performance down for the rest of the season. So
not like we're going to go to the Super Bowl with this team.
Final games, it doesn't look great. I mean, if they win out, they have a 99% chance to make the playoffs. But one loss to the Browns in week 17, that falls down to 21%. So they can't afford a loss here. And then if they lose in the final,
they can't lose anymore.
Win out the rest of their games, it is still just a 17% chance. And with the Titans, Chiefs, Browns, and Ravens to finish out the season, things are looking dire. But it's still control your own destiny time. So the Steelers have every chance to make this. And if they win out, they also have a 55% chance of hosting a wild card. So if they can find a way to host a wild card here, I think there's, a good chance they can potentially move it to the divisional round as well. So it's going to take a big effort, and they're going to have to start playing great in the first half and not wait around. And they're going to need Big Ben and Mike Tomlin to put on their A game and really put together a solid final few weeks.
But you know what? They need to do a lot more. They need to change a lot more before they even worry about winning these games, getting in the playoffs. Because like I told you, Matt, their mindset's poor. Half the time they look like they don't even want to be on the field. And you can't win games if you're coming into games
horrible.
like
that. I was talking about it a little bit. That Ravens game, they poured everything onto that Ravens game. They were exhausted. And Ben doesn't even practice half the week. He doesn't practice Tuesday or Wednesday. Then you come in and play a game. Yeah, that's not going to work out too well.
Well, football fans, as it stands, only 3 teams have officially been eliminated from the playoffs: the Lions, the Texans, and the Jaguars. So everyone else went out, and you got it. The
Jets are still in?
Yes, the Jets still have a minuscule chance to make it here. Let me run the simulations. If they win out of their next 5, they have, New York Times has them as a 0% chance, but it's still a possibility statistically. They need a lot else to happen, though. So, it's possible.
Did you say the Lions were eliminated?
Yeah, officially they are 100% eliminated. I think I'd probably put the Jets on there as well, but they don't have them marked down officially as one of those teams. So that's just what we're going to have to work with here. How about let's go into the NFL preview for this weekend? Let's start things out. Mike, we're going to your side of the city. The Dallas Cowboys and the Washington football team. A huge game for the NFC East and potential playoff implications on the line, as well as this could really put the Washington football team in a spot to potentially win the division as well.
Yeah, and me and Matt were talking about this, I think it was Wednesday when you were here. They got Washington 2 out of the next 3 weeks. They got the Giants, who should be an easy win because they stink, and the rest of their games are divisional games, except that one against the Cardinals. So the Cardinal one is really only one I can maybe say that they'll probably lose, but you don't know. But as far as this game coming in, I'm kind of worried because Mike McCarthy opened up his mouth, and now you actually have to go out and win now because you said you're going to win. But honestly, I feel like they're going to. I really feel like I'm trying to put my fandom aside, but I really feel like this is a game that I've been waiting the last few weeks for them to come out and put their offense back together. I think this is a game they're going to do it. I really do. And I think, Washington's going to give them a little bit of a fight, but for some reason I'm fired up about this one because they need it, and it's a big game to win. It's a visual game.
And your coach opened his mouth, so now you got to back it up. I mean, there's no more sitting aside and waiting for what comes next. So, they're going to have to go out there and play lights out. And we know they can. I mean, they have all the talent, all the players, all the skill positions filled. I mean, you can't ask for anything more on this team to be able to make a run. It's just a matter of putting it together in the proper moments and finding ways to win football games. And that's, I think, where your team has struggled the most. Sometimes even when they're playing fantastic, they just play individual and they end up hurting themselves a lot more than, they should be. So I think this is a big chance for them this weekend to really solidify their spot against this Washington football team. I'm looking at simulations here of how the rest of the season can potentially work out. And in order to win the division, they have to win these 2 games against the Washington football team. And they don't need anything else to happen. If they win these 2 games, the division is theirs. If they split them, and even if they win the rest of them, it looks like they get a good shot at it. But Washington can make a spectacular run as well. So they're going to at least have to win a few of these games. I mean, if it's 2 losses, so you have 5 games left. If you suffer 2 losses against your in-division opponents, you have a 0% chance of winning your division, but you still have a 99% chance of making the wild card here. And that even goes down to just 84%, even if you lose out here in the rest of the season. So it's not an end season, even if you don't win the division. So right now, I think Dallas just needs to focus on getting to the playoffs.
Well, I think to me, though, it is a down thing if you don't win this division,
Yeah.
because coming in, people were talking about Washington in the offseason, but coming in, it was the Cowboys to lose. And up until this point, it has really been the Cowboys to lose. But, give Washington credit, Alek, because they lose Chase Young. We've been talking about their defense since the beginning of the year. It hasn't been what we thought it has been. But the last 4 wins, you give up 19 to Tampa Bay. You give up 21 to Carolina. You give up 15 to Seattle, and you give up 15 to the Raiders. So their defense is stepping up. And combine that with the way Taylor Heineke's been playing. So I told Matt the other day, I give them credit for what they're doing. I'm not discrediting anything. I just look for the Cowboys to come in and really show that they are what we thought they were. And this division is still theirs to lose, and it's going to be theirs to win, coming down to the end of the season. So to me, it is a downgrade if they don't win this division because they're expected to. There's no reason they shouldn't on paper.
Right. Well, I think one of the biggest stories now that's come out, this one just from 2 days ago, the Washington football team puts Montez Sweat in the COVID list. Logan Thomas, their number one tight end, goes on the injured reserve. So 2 more big losses to this squad. For that reason, I'm taking the Cowboys.
Yeah, I got
who I'm picking.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We know.
Well, you don't pick against your team. Come on.
What? Yeah, I know. But I got to go Cowboys here, too. I think they'll pull something off. I think the Heineke magic might run out a little bit here, especially with those 2 big losses. So,
hold on now. That's your guy. You were rolling with him the other day.
I like Taylor Heineke. I do, but man, that was his big tight end. He used to go to him all the time. I like.
That's one of his top
Gibson.
targets besides McLaurin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they still have Antonio Gibson, and he's a fantastic young running back, but I don't think they can rely on this offense to win games. And in the NFL, especially going up against the Cowboys, you have to have a good balance on both sides. I mean, that goes back to week 1 of the season when the Cowboys and the Buccaneers kicked off the show and went it for an all-out shootout, each team throwing it like 50-plus times. It came down, even with the explosive offense, to which defense wanted it more, and that's who won this game. So in an era of offense, you still have to be able to play on both sides of the ball fairly evenly, and I think that's the one downside you're getting with Washington right now is that the injuries, the problems are adding up for them, and I think it's a little too far out of reach. They still got a chance, though, to make it to the playoffs, and I think that should be Washington's focus, is getting that wild card spot.
Yeah, and I think that's the opposite with Dallas because we just mentioned all the injuries that even going back to early in the year when they lose Chase Young and all the injuries they had this past week. Dallas is getting healthy now. They're starting to get. Right. They get DeMarcus Lawrence back. They get Randy Gregory back, and Micah Parsons playing awesome all year on defense, and they're starting to get the receivers back on offense. So they're getting healthy. Washington's not. So 2 teams are in different directions coming in.
And right now, also with Washington, out of these next 5 games, even if they lose both games to the Cowboys, if they win the other 3, 98% chance they make the playoffs. So it's a fantastic right now statistical breakdown for Washington. They should be shoe-in as long as they don't slip up against the Eagles or the Giants in these final few weeks. I mean, I like the NFC East schedule here. We're saving everything for the final run, and everyone's gotten everything down to this part, and let the division fight it out to break everything down. I love the way that finishes out for the East.
Yeah, and they're on a bye week this week, but don't forget about the Eagles, Alek. I know you like them all year, so don't forget about them either.
They're going to be a decent way out of position, especially with these top 2 squads really being where they are. Let me go ahead and run how this would end up working out. If the Eagles win out, 99% chance. If they slip up against Washington football in one of their 2 games, that goes down to 90%. If they lose 2 games, they're out. So they have to win 3 out of their next 4 in order to continue having a chance at the playoffs, unless they lose to the Cowboys in the final week. Then they still have an 88% chance. So
it's gonna be fun to keep an eye on and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, the NFC East, because of how tight it's been, it really does become interesting. It's a very similar position, I think,
we're seeing
the
AFC
North in.
Let me remind you guys, this was the worst division in football last year.
It still is.
Talking about, but now you're talking about
it looks better, though.
AFC West is giving it a run for its money. I think that's pretty bad this year.
Yeah, but you're still talking about 3 teams that have a chance to win this division. So, I mean, they're both, they're a lot bad. They're a lot worse than all the other divisions, but they're good in their own way. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, they're all competing.
Hey, Matt, every team in this division has a chance to make the playoffs. If the Giants win out, they have a 90% chance to get a wild card.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so every
The
team is still in
Giants, man.
contention. It's same thing with the North. Every team is still in it. So
Yeah.
I mean, as I was saying, with just a couple of teams being eliminated, there's still a lot of teams that if they can win out, they control their season. And it's the same thing we talk about with college football. Control your destiny. And right now, every team pretty much has that opportunity. And a few of these other ones that have been eliminated can either start the tank or they can go spoil some chances. And let's get into that here. Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday in Tennessee to take on the Titans.
Oh, geez.
Jacksonville, they've scored 17 points or fewer in each of their 6 games since their last bye week. I'm going to go quick on this one. I got the Titans by 1 million.
Yeah, I got the Titans too. Just, yeah.
Add me on that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They're playing at home too, and they're playing a bad team.
Right. I don't think there's really much discussion there for that.
This point of the year when it's starting to tighten up, you don't really shoot for upsets, so you got to go Titans.
Right. You pretty much know what you have at this point in the season. So it's either you have it or you don't, and that's where you have to run into it. So let's go to a team that is not officially eliminated from the playoffs yet, but they are sitting on the edge against the team that is completely out of it. The 4-8 Seahawks against the 2-10 Texans. Texans are out of it. Seahawks, if they win out against the Texans, the Rams, the Bears, the Lions, and the Cardinals, have a 71% chance at a wild card. So never say never, Seattle. I mean, they can finish this season 9-8 and completely, flip things around.
All they need. They have Adrian Peterson.
There's a chance. There is a chance. However, big or small, they have one. So
they have Adrian Peterson. They have all they need. Russell Wilson,
and it was officially announced earlier this week as well. Davis Mills will take over the starting job officially for the Texans over Tyrod Taylor. Makes it the 4th straight team Tyrod Taylor has gone to that he has been officially benched for a younger quarterback.
Cleveland. Wait, Buffalo, Cleveland, what? The Chargers and now
Chargers.
The Texans.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Poor guy, just retire. Just retire and become an analyst.
No, I think what you got to do is just, if you're another team, you draft a quarterback and you pick up Tyrod Taylor. Bring in Tyrod Taylor, let him play 3-4 games in front of your rookie, and then throw your rookie in, because it seems to be the working rhythm right now. I mean, Josh Allen's got a chance to win the division. Baker Mayfield's got a chance to win the division. Justin Herbert's got a chance to make the division. And let's not talk about the Texans. They have a chance to win the division next year if they have any good players on the team, which they don't really now besides Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Young wide receiver. I mean, I think
I don't want to talk about Houston.
Potentially the best player on that squad. So, yeah, it's not looking great here. I got the Seahawks, and I imagine you guys are going to be pretty much not arguing with that pick.
I'm not arguing with it. Both these teams stink, but the Seahawks are better than the Texans.
Seahawks are better.
And I mean, they've been without Russ most of the year. So now that he's back, I think you can count on them to play a little bit better than they have been. And that 4-8 record, you kind of just have to push that aside and go, well, now Russ is back, and that's going to change things up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So next game on the slate, I like this one a lot better. Las Vegas Raiders against the Kansas City Chiefs. They are playing fantastic on defense. I know we've really trashed the Chiefs defense at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
They've allowed just 11.2 points per game since week 8. That is the second fewest in the NFL in that span. So this defense has turned things around, and the Chiefs are now looking like they have another big run to the playoffs here. And I mean, are we even surprised at this point that this team once again has another chance?
Nope. I told you guys this too, and they started out bad. I knew they would catch something. For as bad as I was criticizing them for the way their offense looked, and their defense isn't good. I mean, it's gotten better, but it wasn't good to start the year. For some reason, I just felt like they were going to make a run, and that's what they're doing. And the Raiders are going in a different direction here. They've lost 4 of their last 5, and the Chiefs have won 6 in a row.
Raiders are depleted. Raiders are just depleted.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to be out of energy, right?
Yeah, and I give them credit for where they're at. They're 6-6. Everything they had all this year, and I'll take a 6-6 record from a Raiders fan.
Yeah, at the moment with everything that's going on, I think that's fair enough. Obviously, I think they were just at the moment finish 8-8, see what happens, see if you can potentially slide into a playoff spot. They still have a easy-ish rest of the season schedule, and even with the loss here, they still have a 98% chance if they win out to make the playoffs. But with a loss here, their percentage would officially sit at about 5% in total to make the playoffs. But obviously, if they can win out after that, they're pretty much a shoe-in. And right now, the Chiefs, they can lose 3 out of their next 5 games and still get a wild card spot. So have no fear. They are going to be in the playoffs if you're a Chiefs fan. And that just means the rest of the league's on notice, right? These guys are back. They're at full force again, it seems, and they found a rhythm. They found a defense, and that's something we didn't really see last year. Is they went into the Super Bowl without a rhythm and without a defense and no offensive line, and they got picked apart and torn to shreds.
It's a team you don't want to see if you have to play. I mean, they're going to be in the playoffs, and you don't want to see them. Don't look at the record at all. You just don't want to see them.
Yeah. Well, go ahead and make your picks, guys. I got the Chiefs.
I get the Chiefs as well. They're dangerous. I hate to say it, but they're dangerous.
I just think with the way the Raiders are playing, I don't see them going to Arrowhead and winning this game. I don't. You know, the way they look the last few weeks, Chiefs are just better than them right now. And
I feel bad
they're
because
better
I
at
like
home.
this Raiders squad. I really do, especially what they've been through.
You've been a real, fan of Eric Carr this entire season, really his entire career. So,
yeah,
it's a shame this season has gone the way it has. But let's go ahead and take a look at a team that is fighting for a spot in the playoffs. The New Orleans Saints, they go into MetLife Stadium to take on the New Jersey Jets. And Jets pretty much out of contention, but they can still spoil the New Orleans Saints spot at the playoffs. If the Saints lose this game and they win out for the rest of the season, they have a 90% chance. But if they lose back-to-back weeks here against the Jets and the Dolphins, or just in any 2 games of their next 5, they are officially out of the playoff race. So they are in a very tight window right now, and they need to pick up some wins. So whether that comes, they need 4 out of the next 5 is pretty much what I'm trying to say. So they need it.
And honestly, looking at the schedule, they probably can get 4 out of the next 5. This is a game they should win. They play good against the Bucs, so you can maybe count that as one. But then you got the Dolphins, Panthers, and Falcons after that. So they have a good, mix coming up to try to get in the playoffs. But it's got to start with the Jets.
And the biggest thing right here as well, with that 70% chance, with that playoff chance, if they win out and lose to the Buccaneers, they do only have a 70% chance. So they're in a very similar spot as we were talking about with the Seahawks. And that's a little surprising with the way these two teams have played on the season. Both have really gone through quarterback injuries, and they both are sitting basically at a 70% chance to make the playoffs if they can win the majority of their final games. But any more than that one slip up against the Buccaneers, and it's the end of the line for the New Orleans Saints and their miracle season with backup after backup.
Yeah.
Well,
Matt?
I think with this game as well, before we get into our picks, New Orleans has lost 5 straight games in the season for a first time in the Sean Payton era, which started in 2006. They've never really played this bad. And on the other side, this Jet squad, there's something about them. I don't know what it is. They're not good in any way, shape, or form, but they're almost sneaky in the way that sometimes they can just hang around and beat you randomly. I mean, what they did hanging around with the Dolphins. I mean, that was a 24-17 game. They beat the Jets. They were hanging in there with the Eagles for a little bit of time. They just couldn't get anything to go in the second half. I mean, that was a 24-18 going into halftime, and then the Eagles finished things out. But, this team, especially against in-division opponents, they played pretty well. So once they've gone out is where you've seen them struggle the most. But I'm looking to see them potentially hang in there this weekend around the Saints, especially with as bad as the Saints have been playing. And you know what? Screw it. Give me the Jets.
I was thinking about going Jets too, but I like the Saints defense, and I know it really hasn't held up to the 5-7 record, but they played a good defensive game against the Cowboys last Thursday. So I'm gonna still roll with the Saints. I picked the Jets last week; they didn't help me out, so I'm gonna flip it up and go with Saints.
Matt,
I'm with you. I'll go Jets.
Oh man!
Oh, you're always following Alek. Come on.
I get him hyped up. I don't know what it is.
The Jets. Hey. Zach Wilson is going to play like Flash Gordon, and he's going to save the universe, okay? So go Jets.
Oh, God. He's picking on Flash Gordon. Maybe I need to switch back off, Mike.
Yeah, do it.
Back off.
You don't pick the same as Matt. That never works.
I don't know. You know what? His record ain't too bad, so I'm going to stick with Matt on this one here. How about next game up on the list? 2 teams sitting at 5-7. They both pretty much need to win out if they want their spot in the playoff. The Falcons and the Panthers. Both teams have really struggled here in the recent going, but Atlanta has outscored opponents 112-41 since week 10. So it's been a good last few weeks. And I think because of that, I'm going to stick on their side. I'm going to take the Falcons here. The recent going has been well, and Matt Ryan looks to be like the Matt Ryan we saw go to the playoffs a few years ago. So I'm going to roll with the Falcons in this one over the Panthers, even though Cam Newton might be finding a rhythm. Who knows?
Yeah,
and he went, 5 for 20 in that last game? So
yeah, he's not finding a rhythm.
It's hard. He's inconsistent here coming back, and it's very hard to pick. So I'm going to stick with the Falcons. They've been on a resurgence here after kind of brain farting the beginning of the season. They've bounced back a little bit. Matt, like you said, Matt Ryan has returned to form a little bit. So I got to go Falcons here. I think they can make a good playoff push.
And ever since Cam said he's back, he hasn't been back. He had one of his worst games of his career. I think it was his last game against the Dolphins, and they haven't won a game since he said that. And I got to roll with the Falcons because I feel like they're playing better football. And I think the Panthers are not trending in that direction that the Falcons are going in. So I'm going to go Atlanta.
All right. Well, next game on the slate, huge implications for the AFC North. The Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens. All-time Lamar Jackson, 5-1 career head-to-head versus Baker Mayfield. 2 Heisman Trophy winners, 1 out of Louisville, 1 out of Oklahoma. This feels like it's kind of becoming the next big matchup between quarterbacks, at least here in the AFC North. Depending on what Joe Burrow can do, though, that could potentially change that up too. I mean, you have to say this is one of the most loaded quarterback divisions in football when you look at the level of talent, at least that came out of high school out of high school and college with these three top recruits. And then obviously Big Ben is heading out the door, and we can see who takes his spot. I mean, it could be a potentially Heisman Trophy winning Kenny Pickett.
I hope that happens so bad.
That would be phenomenal. Have 4 Heisman Trophy winners all in the division, and Kenny Pickett, he has what it takes. So I mean, it's a huge thing. Let's not get too off course here with that. But Baltimore Ravens, they don't necessarily need this game. They just need 2 or 3 out of these last 5, depending on which ones they lose. So they need a little bit of help at the end of the season, but they control their own destiny. I mean, if they win 3 out of the next 5, they're in. If they win 2 out of the next 5, they have about a 50 to 80% chance, depending on which games they lose in. So, I mean, as long as they can beat the Packers, the Bengals, and the Rams, that's the big thing with the Ravens. They have a very tough end of the season. It's probably, I think, number 1 ranked in the NFL in terms of strength of schedule to finish out the rest of the year. I mean, Browns, Packers, Bengals, Rams, Steelers, just to finish things out. So, I mean, with that being the case, they currently sit in the simulation standings at an 86% chance to make it to the playoffs, an 8% chance on a bye week, 58% chance for a wild card, 78 chance just for a wild card, and a 14% chance of not making it. So everything's sitting right for Baltimore, and they have to love where they're sitting considering all of the injuries so far this season. And I think that's huge. And right now, Browns, it's a 20% chance. They have to control their destiny. If they beat the Ravens, that goes up to a 40% chance. If they can beat the Steelers down the line and the Bengals, that goes up to an 80% chance. But then they have to beat either the Raiders or the Packers in one of those final few weeks. And then even then, they have some question marks on what happens around them. So it is control destiny time. And I know we keep saying it here on the show, but that's just what it is. That's how the cookie's crumbling at the end of the season. I think I like it here with this extended season a little bit, that we're getting maybe a little bit more competitiveness down the stretch because it's making these win percentages a little bit closer between teams with that extra game added in there.
Mike?
I have a hard time picking Browns games. I feel like,
don't worry, I did too, and I'm the Browns fan. I go,
it's just hard with them. Like, you don't know what you're getting.
Make up your mind, and I'll go here. If the Browns do the same thing to Lamar Jackson that the Pittsburgh Steelers did, got to him 7 times, which the Browns are very capable of doing with guys like Myles Garrett on their defense, then they're going to win this game. If you pressure Lamar Jackson, and I'm sure that a couple of those guys were watching that game too and picked up on that, they're going to win this game, and I think they're going to do just that. So I think the Browns
and Matt, don't forget, though, the last time these 2 teams played 2 weeks ago, the Browns had a good scheme going against Lamar. He didn't really do anything.
Right. And Browns actually 2.5 point favorite going into this weekend against the Baltimore Ravens. So, I mean, they definitely have a chance. Huh?
I got a 3-point spread according to CBS. So
okay, I'm looking. I got a Yahoo Sportsbook on right now.
So it's hovering around the same thing. But yeah, they're home. They probably should be favored.
I mean, just 2 guys are out due to injury, neither one very important to the team. Anthony Schwartz, he has a concussion, and Harrison Bryant is out with an ankle. Njoku, Anthony Walker, and Jamie Gillen will all be activated off the COVID reserve list in time for the game. So that should be big. Browns did sign Dustin Colquitt, though, to take over punting duties in case Gillen is not ready to go. So they brought in Colquitt, who is a fantastic punter. No problems there with that. And before we make picks, I do got to say, former Browns head coach Hugh Jackson named the head coach of Grambling State University. So Hugh Jackson's moving out of the NFL.
He's come a long way, hasn't he?
From an NFL head coach to Grambling State.
Maybe it's good for him. Who knows?
Well, that's okay. Jason Garrett, potentially the favorite right now to take over Duke's head coaching duties as well.
Yeah, I didn't hear that one. That's kind of interesting.
That one came out a little bit earlier today. So with that being said, everybody knows who I'm going in this one. I have to pick my Brownies. I need them to make this run here. I've been saying it. Just give me a winning season. But right now, I want them to win it out. Let's try and make another push. I don't know if they can do it. I don't know if they have what it takes. But you know what? Give Cleveland a chance and see what they can do with it. I mean, that's all you can ask for. Coming down the last 5 games is a chance. And when the cards are down, screw it. I'm rolling with Baker Mayfield and Nick Chubb. I don't got a problem picking these guys to win games. They can do it. They did it last year. They showed that. They made the playoff run with basically the same roster. I don't see why they can't do it again. I'm not saying a Super Bowl. I'm not even saying a playoff win, but I'm saying a chance, and that starts here against the Ravens. They need that same defensive level of performance, and it's going to have to be time for the offense to pick things up. And you know what? If they're not going to take Baker Mayfield out, then Baker Mayfield needs to start playing like the Heisman candidate he was when he won that in Oklahoma 4 years ago today, when he won that Heisman Trophy in New York. So it is put up or shut up time for Baker Mayfield and the Browns. You lose this, you can, pretty much kiss this season goodbye unless you can, win out the rest of your games. And that's hard because they're going to have the Raiders, Packers, Steelers, and Bengals to finish out the year. So they need things to happen. It comes down to, whether or not they want this at the end of the year. I mean, if they lose here, they're given in total an 8% chance to win out those rest of the games. So it's not looking great. I mean, they're pretty much almost out of it if they lose this one. So it's time to win if you're in Cleveland.
Yep, it's time to win.
I got the Browns.
I got the Browns too. Defense is going to roll all.
Mike, go ahead and take the Ravens. I know you want to.
I want to pick the Browns, but I want to be different too. I feel like we're picking too many of the same. But again, it's
the Browns.
It's a game. You only have 2 choices. Sometimes you all end up going the same way.
I don't like the way the Ravens have been playing. I don't like the way either team's been playing, but screw it. I'll go Browns. We'll do it.
Hey, there we go. Brownies across the board. It didn't work out for us last time, but maybe second time's the charm here. Let's go back to New Jersey and then head out west to Los Angeles for the Chargers in Giants game. Big one for Herbert. He needs the win here. They need to continue their ways and make that run down. I mean, they're a team that, they're looking good. They have currently about a 73% chance to make the playoffs, and that will come most likely in a wild card. If they win out, though, I mean, it's 100% guaranteed that they are in the playoffs. They will either host the wild card or have a bye week. So if they can win out here in the final stand, they have an excellent chance of making the playoffs. And even a loss to the Chiefs, they are still 100% guaranteed to spot the wild card. It comes if they slip up again. Even then, if they lose to the Raiders in the final game, it's still an 89% chance at a wild card. So this team is in perfect positioning right now, and it's time to find that rhythm. They have their spot wrapped up, basically. So now it's time. Just put the hammer down, see what you can find. Go to your school player. See if you can find something special out of someone random who can make an epic run. I mean, that was Heineke last season. That's how he earned his spot come playoff time. They needed somebody to step up. He was the guy that did, and now he's the starting quarterback. So sometimes you just see the most random people step up. I mean, that was even the case with both Tampa Bay and Kansas City with the running back room. Or maybe no. That was 49ers in Kansas City with the running back rooms stepping up and making it way to the Super Bowl. I mean, neither team really had huge guys in those games, and they still found somebody in the late stages that put the momentum in their corner and allowed them to make that deep run. And that's what the Chargers need to find, because the one thing we've said, they don't have a true running back to take over games. Feed Eckler. See if he can get something going, or heck, switch it up and go somewhere else with it. But they're going to have to find someone that can make those big plays and put this team in a rhythm for the playoffs here in a few weeks.
Yeah, because it's a team that we've been talking about that maybe could be possibly overrated. You know, we maybe thought too much of them coming in. So, but I think this is a game, you know, looking at their schedule like you ran through, Chiefs might be their only real challenge. I mean, the Giants have nothing on offense. We all know this. And the Chargers do have stuff on offense. So for that reason, I'm going to make my pick. I'm going Chargers.
I got to go Chargers here. I mean, Herbert went explosive all over this Pittsburgh team. You know, Pittsburgh is we've talked about them. You know, I think they're a way better team than the Giants. So just imagine what they're going to do to this Giants team.
Yeah, well, we saw the same thing about the Titans over the Jets, and we saw how that went. I got the Chargers as well, though. I just don't like New York.
Me either. They're horrible.
I already picked the Jets. I ain't taking two New York teams in the same week.
I mean, I don't like them. They're my division.
Right.
So
you got every reason to pick against them. I just, don't think Daniel Jones is that great, and I think Saquon Barkley is just injury-prone, and he doesn't step up when he comes off of those injuries either. So I just don't think they have what it takes. They honestly could just go straight into a rebuild, and I'd be fine with that because I think they need one.
They do.
Well, let's go to the worst team in the National Football League, but they're on a one-game winning streak. The Detroit Lions, they got the Denver Broncos, who are 3-1 versus NFC teams this season. So it seems like a fairly simple pick, but that's what we thought last week, and that one kind of got flipped up on our heads with the Vikings losing to this Lions team, who are really the first team or second team actually that was officially eliminated from the playoffs. Denver Broncos have been given a 20% chance to make the playoffs here. They need a lot to happen down at the end of it, but you know they got a chance.
I got it.
This is a weird one.
And if they win out, if the Broncos win out, this is one of the best teams to start the season. But we saw it was against 0-9 teams in those first 3 weeks. They were 3-0, then they fall down. Now they're back up. They have a 99 or 100% chance of making the playoffs if they win out. So this is a team clear in the race to potentially make this run. And even with two losses, I mean, depending on the two losses, those odds go from 100% down to about 35-50. I mean, they really need to beat the Chiefs in the final week to really cement themselves. And it's definitely a hard ride down at the end of this because they're taking on a lot of their divisional opponents. But I think the Broncos are in a good state right now. And I think the Lions are going to be in tank mode now that they're pretty much officially gone. I don't know why they were really pushing it besides to get the win in that last week against the Vikings. I think they got their win, and they avoided the 0-16 season. So now I think it's time go for that number one pick.
I got to go Broncos here. And, I don't see the Lions.
Pretty much good pick there, man. I got the Broncos. Mike, you got the Broncos?
I do. Like I said, I with this Lions team, I kept picking them. They didn't do it. Last week they won.
But I don't think they're going to pull too off.
I'm half tempted to pick them, but I'm going to be safe.
Oh, me too. I want to be safe.
All right. Well, let's rapid fire through these last four games on the weekend. We got first up the 49ers versus the Bengals. I don't know what it is, but Cincinnati, they're still an Ohio team, and I kind of like the Bengals. I know there's a lot of, rivalry between Cleveland and Cincinnati, but at the same time, it's Cincinnati. Their quarterback's from Ohio. I got no beef with Cincinnati, I'm not a super hardcore NFL fan. Yeah, I like my Browns. I'm going to pick them over Cincinnati, and I'm going to pick them, every game they play. But I got no problem picking Cincinnati so long as they're not facing the Browns. So I'm going to take the Bengals here. I like them to win this game, and I like what they got going on.
I'm the same way. Cincinnati and Pittsburgh are pretty big rivals, two division rivals. But I'm the same way as you. I like Joe Burrow. I think he was really cool at, LSU. And, he's an Ohio kid. I'm from Ohio, so it's cool to relate to that. And he's just been awesome. So I think they're going to take this Niners team. Now,
and he also proved me wrong. I called him. I said he was going to be the biggest boss. He's turning out to be pretty darn good at this football thing. So he proved me wrong, so I got to pick him. Mike, what about you? You taking the Bengals as well over the 49ers?
I am. I haven't liked this Niners team, really. I mean, I feel like they were kind of playing good before it lost to the Seahawks, but I never really cared for the way they've been playing this year, so I got to go Bengals.
All right. Well, Matt, let's head back to your team, the Buffalo Bills. They lost earlier this week to the Patriots, but, that was just terrible weather conditions, and there was nothing you could do in that game. to really make it look good. They take on the Buccaneers, though. Give me a quick thought and a pick here on yours Buffalo Bills squads to go up against TB12, who is 32-3 all-time versus Buffalo's, which is the most wins by any quarterback versus a single opponent in NFL history.
Well, Brady has trolled them his whole career. That record you just said there pretty much says it. But so, I mean, Buffalo.
Yeah, but they also sucked most of his career too.
Right.
What?
They've also sucked most of.
The Bills have sucked most of his career. They've got their guy. They've got Josh Allen. I think if this was, I mean, this game could have went 100 different ways the other night, that Monday night game, but it ended up going the way in which they didn't win. They only lost by 4. A lot of people don't bring that up. They only lost by 4. I think that, they got – and Brady has their number, and I think it's time that these tables are going to turn here. I think Allen's going to come in here after that horrible weather game against Brady's old team. He's sick of the Belichick. He's sick of Brady. And so is McDermott. The whole organization is just sick of the Patriots and Brady and Belichick.
Well, Matt, I imagine you're taking the Bills then.
Oh, yeah. The Bills are going to come in here and say, hey, Brady, we're the new
Okay, Matt. Okay, Matt. Well, Matt, not so fast. The Bills might be sick of him. They still can't beat him. I got the Buccaneers.
No.
I got to go Bills.
Beat him. Yes!
Oh, okay, Mike.
I got to go Bills.
Okay. Going away from the
I know they're 9-3, but something about this Tampa Bay team, I'm just not sold on them this year.
Well, Tom Brady is the number 1 quarterback in the NFL still. So,
also okay.
Until this
statistically.
Week.
Even if he has a bad week, he's still like number 1 or number 2. So, next game on the slate here. Quick picks. Justin Fields back as the quarterback for the Bears, but the Packers are coming into town. I got the Packers going big here. I don't think the Bears really stand a chance. Even though they're a 4-8 team, they could potentially make a run, but I got the Packers.
Aaron Rodgers still owns them.
Yep.
Well, final game comes down. Well, actually, pardon me. That is our final game. Monday Night Football is the Rams versus the Cardinals, so we won't be making that pick here on this week's show. That'll be next Monday. And we have to go into something here as well from the NFL that isn't as positive as the rest of it.
No.
Demaryius Thomas found dead this morning in his home in Roswell, Georgia, at just 33 years old. He was a 5-time Pro Bowler in the NFL, and they still don't exactly know what caused the death. We obviously aren't the ones to go into that as well. They said potentially seizures. He was apparently prone to those, so it could be that, but we're not going to be the ones to speculate.
No, it's just we're just going to speculate the fact that this is very devastating. I was up late last night, and I got on Instagram. That's the first thing I saw. I'm like, this is fake. Then I Googled it. I'm like, no, this is real. It's the same thing that happened with Kobe Bryant. Yeah. It's the same thing.
It's just instant shock, and you're just like, what?
What? He's literally one of the best receivers of the Broncos organization.
Right. And because of that, why don't we go ahead and take 10 seconds of silence right here.
Yep.
All right. Well, we do have to move on past that, unfortunately, and go into the NHL tonight, 7:30, 10-9-5 New Jersey Devils hosting the 15-10-1 Nashville Predators. Devils open up at -1.5 point favorites. Guys, thoughts and picks?
Mike?
Both these teams are on similar levels. Mike,
that's kind
of why I was picking. You
can't do any worse than you have all week. You've been 0-3 in the NHL, so might as well just throw one out.
Mike.
I'm going Nashville. I'll just throw it out.
Oh, jeez.
All right. Matt?
I don't know. It's a hard thing to pick here.
Hockey's so hard.
What?
Hockey is so
Matt,
hard.
You and I are tied this week. We've gone the exact same way on every game. I'll go ahead and spoil my pick. The scoring differential, my point system that I've been going on all season long tells me the Predators are going to win this game, but it is not as big as you would think they are despite their winning record. So I'm going the Predators. You can either aim for the tie or try and flip for the win.
He's going to pick the same team.
You take the Devils.
New Jersey Devils are prone to upsetting teams here, but
he's taking the Devils.
You know what? Just because Mike said that, I'm picking the Devils. I ain't picking the same team. I'm picking the Devils.
Yeah, Matt, you
Thank
and I
you.
have had the same picks all week in the NHL, and we've actually all been the exact same going in the NBA as well. So perhaps that will change as well when we have the NBA on tonight at 7:30. 13-12 Atlanta Hawks host the 17-8 Brooklyn Nets. Atlanta favor right now -2.5. I'll go ahead and spoil my point. I actually like Brooklyn in this game. It's on the road, and they haven't been fantastic on the road, but they have been 7-3 in these last 10. And actually, pardon me, they've been pretty good on the road, 9-3 in that area. At home, they've seen the Hawks be 8-4. It's where they've won the majority of their games. They've been bad on the road. But I like what the Nets have. They're obviously full of talent. They did just lose to the Rockets somehow, but the Rockets are on, I believe, an 8 or 7 game win streak. They're the first team to start with a 15 game losing streak and then have a 7 game winning streak in the same season. They did it back to back, but I think the Nets are going to rebound from that one pretty good, and I got them winning this one.
Yeah, I got to go Nets here for pretty much everything you just said. Rebound. They're going to rebound from, that loss. So,
Mike, you taking Atlanta?
No, I'm not.
Oh. All right. Well, those are the official picks for the week, but show's not over just yet. Let's go ahead
2 more things.
and go into our highlights of the week. I'll start mine off.
Oh.
This one mainly comes from me predicting this earlier on in the week when we were talking about Kenny Pickett in the fake slide, and I said what should be done. I was like, they need to make it so that as soon as he goes, initiates that slide, it becomes a down. And it just came in here earlier this morning at 12:35 p.m. Fake slides now against the rules after Pickett's trick play versus Wake. This came in from the National Coordinator of Officials, Steve Shaw, has instructed all officials to blow a play dead at the spot where a ball carrier fakes a slide to cause defenders to back off from making a tackle. So I was right, and that's my highlight of the week because I called it. I said what it should have been, and now it's officially what should have been. So Pickett should have been down.
And give the NCAA credit for actually acting on it quickly.
Doing it in season as well. Most times when it comes until out of it and go, let's retroactively look at this, and that's what happened. But, props to them. They do it right after pretty much a week after this game, and they go into bowl season now in Army-Navy this weekend, and the rules are defined. We can't have that in the league. It's dangerous. One, it's also dangerous for the quarterbacks, too. I mean, you saw the motion of his knees. For some quarterbacks, if they're not as conditioned as Pickett is, that's a blown ACL and a potential career-ending injury.
All right, I'm going to go here. This is my highlight of the week for me. Ron Harper Jr. of the Rutgers college basketball team hits the half-court buzzer beater to take down the number 1 Purdue Boilermakers. Unbelievable.
There's the bell for
Ron Harper Jr., Mike, his dad played for the Cavaliers,
Yeah.
won championships with the Bulls and Michael, and the Lakers with Shaq and Kobe. So that's pretty cool.
The guy the Cavs drafted too.
Yeah, Cavs drafted him, and some Ron Harper Jr. or Ron Harper.
All right, Matt, hurry up. I got to put mine. You got to make your meathead too.
Mike, go ahead for it.
Go, Mike.
So I got my Cavs hoodie on, but I put the Penn State hat on because Sean Clifford's coming back. That's my highlight. A couple hours ago they announced it, so that's my highlight. I'm pretty happy about it.
All right, fair enough. And that leaves just one final piece of our puzzle.
Let's do
this week's meathead of the week.
All right, so I was really close to picking Chase Claypool because that was just a meathead thing that he would do.
That's my meathead.
I mean, it's pretty close. But where is it? My meathead of the week. You know what? We'll just give it to him because I can't find the other one on here that I had. So we're going to give it to Chase Claypool. It's about time I pick somebody from the team that I like, and it's him. Why? We talked about it earlier in the show. Why would you do this? Just why?
He's selfish.
You're losing and the clock is ticking. Get up.
Yeah.
That's his.
All right. Well, that is officially going to do it for this week of the Casual Sports Podcast. Come on back next week. We got a boatload of college basketball and the start of college bowl mania. So we got lots to go into. Power Hour coming up next here on YSNlive.com. Thank you for tuning into another week. We'll be back next time. Check Matt and I out tonight and tomorrow on YSN High School Basketball. I'm Alek. That's Matt and Mike over there. We'll see y'all next time.